What do you do when you're trying to be calm, but you are just freaking out? You're walking down the hall to the highest stakes, biggest presentation of your career, and you're going to be, of course, the featured speaker, and you're freaking out. Or your partner just said something that makes you crazy, and you're freaking out, and you're about to say something that you shouldn't say, and you certainly don't want to say in front of the kids. Or you're out in public and somebody cuts in front of you in the line at the grocery store, and it's the fifth tough thing that's happened this day, and you just get triggered. What you don't want to do? You don't want to go to that place. But again, you got the kids with you. So how do you not freak out by nerves or by anger, any of those emotional triggers? How do you get yourself calm? Well, two ways. You got to have a long-term plan and you got to have a short-term plan. Long-term plan is, how do I calm down my stress response over time so that a year from now, so that in 5 years from now, I am so much better at just taking it in stride. But you also need, secondly, a short-term plan. What do I do in the moment when I'm freaking out here or tempted to freak out here? Let's look at that second part. Let's look at that short-term thing. You're walking down the hall, or you're right there and you need to get the kids in the car. You've just got to get calm and you've got to do it now. Let's look at 3 ways to make that happen. First, if you need to calm down fast, you're in freak out mode and you need to get calm really quickly, you can use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 approach. Now, research is really clear that you can use your 5 senses, and that's what you do with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You engage your senses to interrupt that pattern, the thought pattern that's causing the freak out. And so you're going to engage your senses and use them to lower your stress response. So the first one is 5. You're going to look around and you're going to notice and you're going to acknowledge 5 things you see. It might be your glass of water. It might be your watch. It might be the painting you're walking by. Whatever you can see, just name 5 things that you see. And then you go on to 4. And 4 is 4 things you can touch right now. What can you touch? You can touch your sweater here. You can feel your feet engaging with the floor. Feel your feet against the shoes against the floor. You can feel that. What are 4 things you can feel right now? Might be a quick, just touch your hair there. 3 things you hear. What do you hear right now? Just connect with your auditory sense. And then 2, you're going to go to 2 things you can smell right now. And if you need to walk down the hall or you need to walk outside to smell something, just what are 2 things you can smell? Doesn't matter what they are. And 1 is, what's 1 thing I taste right now? So maybe you just had a cup of coffee and you can taste that coffee in your mouth, or we just had lunch and you can taste the sandwich that you had at lunch. What's 1 thing you can taste right now? And that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 tends to calm down the brain, interrupts that flow of going down like a fast freight train in a direction of freak out, and just brings it back. Second, if you're headed towards freak out and you want to calm down really fast, you've got to get some emotional distance. It's like a freight train going super fast, saying everything is terrible, catastrophe is about to hit, I'm freaking out. You got to get some emotional distance from that. And the way you want to do that is adjust how you're talking to yourself. Because right now you're talking to yourself saying everything is awful. And instead of that, you're going to talk to yourself differently. You're going to give yourself some emotional distance. And one of the key things that the researchers say is get rid of the word I. I'm freaking out. I'm going to fail. I'm in trouble. I'm really scared. Get rid of the word I here, and you're going to talk to yourself in a different way. You're going to distance yourself. It's getting doing some what they call distanced self-talk. So you might say, okay, so what would my best self say right now? What would my true self tell me to do right now? They did some research with kids on this, and they found that when the kids used Batman, what would Batman do? How would Batman solve this? That the kids' thinking got more reasonable and it got more constructive. So maybe you use Batman. What would Batman do? Third, so let's say you're walking down the hall, you're on your way to a really big meeting with a lot of very important decision makers, and you are the main speaker and you're freaking out. How do you calm yourself down right away? One of the quickest ways is through your breathing. Because what's happening is your breathing is getting shallow and your heart is starting to race. And so your body is going down the freak out train. And what you want to do is to engage your body through engaging your breathing so you take it a different direction. So, how do I stop my stress right now? Well, quickest way to do it with your breathing is to keep it simple. Breathe out longer than you breathe in. Breathe out longer than you breathe in. Andrew Huberman, neuroscientist at Stanford, has done research on this and says that when you do 2 short breaths in through your nose and then a long breath out through your mouth, do it at least once, but why not do it twice? He says 3 times. Like, do it a few times in a row, and immediately your heart will slow down. So all that racing heart that's happening, your heart starts slowing down. And as your heart starts slowing down, your brain says, "Oh, my heart is slowing down. So maybe my breathing could not be so shallow as well." And then you start this wonderful cascade in your brain of the chemicals in your brain and your body that allow you to calm. So 2 short breaths in through your nose, 1 long breath out through your mouth. Do it 3 times and watch yourself start to calm down. So if you're going into freak out mode and you want to calm yourself fast, use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, engaging your senses. Really look at your self-talk and engage in more emotional distanced self-talk, and look at your breathing and make sure that your exhales are longer than your inhales, just a few times. And watch yourself calm down. Notice that you're calming down. And now you get to go and perform.